Tonight's global brief: clear, concise, and ahead of the curve. From markets to climate and tech, we scan reliable sources so you don't have to. Your world, briefing ready.
Hello and welcome to World News. I'm Eve, your anchor in our global newsroom. In the next minutes, we'll bring you verified headlines from geopolitics, business, and technology, with clear context and concise takeaways. You'll learn what happened, why it matters, and what to watch next, without noise or speculation. Stay with us as we start at the desk with today's top stories, then zoom in on the trends shaping tomorrow. Let's begin.
So, after 2 long, devastating years of war, there's finally a ceasefire in Gaza. But let's be clear, based on the reporting from October 15, 2025, this isn't some grand peace treaty. It is a truce, and it is hanging on by a thread. So, what are the massive pressures threatening to just tear this whole thing apart?
You know, for the people living in Gaza, the silence from the fighting is this moment of just profound relief. But it's a really, really tense silence. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is asking the same terrifying question. Is this just a pause, or is it the start of something real? Because right now, the smallest misstep could plunge the entire region right back into chaos. And this right here is the most immediate, the most tangible sign of hope. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, aid trucks are actually rolling into Gaza. It's an absolutely critical lifeline for a population that is right on the brink of a humanitarian catastrophe. But, and this is the key, this hope is incredibly fragile, and it's tied directly to this ceasefire holding.
Which brings us to the very first major test of this entire agreement. And it's a deeply emotional, politically explosive dispute over the return of hostages, specifically the bodies of those who died while they were in captivity. Things got so tense that Israel actually threatened to shut down the Rafah crossing. That's the main artery for all that essential aid we just talked about. Why? They accused Hamas of deliberately dragging their feet on returning the bodies of hostages. And that single move nearly blew up the entire deal before it could even get started. So let's actually break down the numbers, because they really get to the core of the tension here. Hamas is supposed to return the bodies of 21 hostages. So far, they've returned 8, and one of those was misidentified. On the flip side, Israel is set to return 360 Palestinian militant bodies, and 45 have been handed over. You can see how this imbalance, this slow pace, becomes a major flashpoint for distrust on both sides. Okay, so with that hostage dispute at least paused for now, the gates have opened for that critical lifeline. The continuous flow of aid is, and I can't stress this enough, absolutely essential to preventing a total humanitarian collapse inside Gaza. 600. That's the number. The ceasefire plan calls for 600 aid trucks to enter Gaza every single day. And look, this isn't just some nice-to-have goal. It's what's considered the bare minimum needed to even begin tackling the widespread hunger and devastation. So what exactly are in these trucks? Well, it's the absolute basics for survival. You've got food and medical supplies, obviously, but just as critical is the fuel needed to run hospitals, cooking gas for families, and the heavy equipment you need to start repairing shattered water and sanitation systems. But here's the thing. While all this international aid is flowing in, a really dangerous power vacuum is opening up inside Gaza. Now that the main fighting has paused, different armed groups are violently struggling to fill that void and seize control for themselves. And Hamas is moving aggressively and brutally to reassert its authority. We're not talking about political speeches here. This is a tough security crackdown, and it includes reports of public executions as they clash with local clans who tried to grab power during the chaos of the war. Meanwhile, the political pressure from outside is just immense. On the Israeli side, you have hardliners like National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. He represents a far-right part of the government, and he sees this aid as a disgrace. His view, in his own words, is that the only way to solve problems is with force, which really highlights the fierce internal opposition to this ceasefire in Israel. But Hamas isn't just getting pressure from Israel. The condemnation of their methods is also coming from other Palestinians. The rival Palestinian Authority, which is based in the West Bank and led by Mahmoud Abbas, has called these public executions a crime and a blatant violation of human rights. This just throws the deep, bitter divisions within Palestinian politics into sharp relief. And to make things even more complicated, not everyone agrees with the Palestinian Authority.
Other powerful factions, like the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the PFLP, they actually support what Hamas is doing. They argue these clans aren't political rivals, but hubs of crime that needed to be taken down. The crucial takeaway here is there is no single unified Palestinian position on how to govern Gaza. So when you put all of this together, the disputes over bodies, the logistics of aid, the brutal internal violence, it all points to a really sobering reality. This ceasefire, as vital as it is for today, has left the biggest, most fundamental questions completely unanswered. These are the absolute pillars of any potential long-term peace, and right now, none of them are stable. First, what about the disarmament of Hamas? They've refused. Second, who is actually going to govern Gaza in the long term? Nobody knows. Third, what would an international peacekeeping force even look like? And finally, the biggest question of all. Does any of this lead to real, concrete moves towards a Palestinian state? These are the mountains that still need to be climbed.
So this is where we are, on a knife's edge. A fragile truce is holding. Aid is flowing, and it's saving lives today. But with powerful forces working against it, both from the inside and the outside, and with the fundamental issues of the conflict just kicked down the road, the question we're all left with is this: can a temporary deal, born of pure exhaustion, ever really be enough to build a lasting peace?
That's your briefing from World News. I'm Eve. Before we go, a quick recap. Key decisions in policy and markets, signals from tech and security, and the human angles behind the numbers. For more depth and verified updates, follow my channel World News Eve and enable notifications. We'll be back soon at this desk with clear facts and practical context you can use. Until then, stay informed and stay kind. Like my video, leave your comments, and help me bring news to everyone. From me to all of us, be happy.